And we're live. Welcome to BS Session 73. Chris has been abducted by who appear to be the Addams family, so I've enlisted a whole new crew for the foreseeable future. Right here. At least until we get a ransom letter or something. I'm sure he'll be fine.
This right here has the ability with a 30 caliber clip to disperse with 30 bullets within half a second.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
You're listening to your weekly dose of BS, Ballistically Speaking. The Ballistically Speaking Podcast.
Well, it's great to see you, fine-looking gentlemen. I'm going to start things off by, I guess, apologizing. There's something going on between StreamYard and Facebook. They're not shaking hands. Apparently, we've had to put what do you call it, a ticket or notification or whatever. That StreamYard sucks. So we'll see what kind of response we get out of that. Tonight we've got Chase and Tyler Beckley with us from, what do you call your ranch? 3 Bars Ranch, isn't it?
3 Bars Guest Ranch, yeah.
There it is, yeah. Good for me. My old senior citizen brain didn't kick in.
I did kick it.
Or did. It went surprisingly well anyway.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into it, let's knock off some of the sponsor obligations here, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. So as usual, we're brought to you by EM Precision Rifles in Leduc, Alberta, building Canada's finest precision rifles. Commission a build today at emprifles.ca.
And we're also brought to you by Bolt Action Coffee, bringing specialty coffee to the precision shooting world. Order coffee and merchandise at boltactioncoffee.com.
That was almost excellent.
Always room for improvement.
You're not. Well, I've been doing this for, I don't know, 3.5 years, and yeah, I still haven't reached the no room for improvement bit yet. So, all right, brought to you also by Callsign 66, Canada's best rifle training. Welcome to the Brotherhood. Book a course with them now at callsign66.ca.
Also brought to you by Odell Engineering. Pick up a Canuck shotgun or Bergara rifle from your local distributor and tell them Phil sent you. Look them up at odellengineeringltd.com. Also, fun fact that you'll see 2 Bergara rifles sported by myself and Mike at the upcoming match that we're going to be talking about today. So, Phil.
Which ones are they? You bugger.
I'll be shooting a Bergara HMR in 6.5 PRC, and Mike will be running 6.5 Creedmoor. So,
nice.
Because his 300 PRC is way too heavy. So.
Well, I was wondering when he was talking about that before. I'm like, geez, well, I guess you're more of a man than I am. 300. Good.
The match director with targets appreciates. No.
Yeah, I bet.
Noted.
Yeah,
duly noted.
All right, Apex Optics. When you buy Apex, precision comes standard. Check out all the fine competition rifle scopes and binoculars at apexoptics.co.
We're also brought to you by Ribstone Gunsmithing. Craftsmanship done right. Contact Oscar at ribstonegunsmithing.ca and breathe life back into any firearm.
That's if you want life in a firearm, I suppose.
Yeah, you may not want. Some things are better left alone.
Some things are, yeah. The Shooting Edge in Calgary, Alberta, the home of the Sterling Arms R18, an indoor range, training courses, a new 6-lane axe-throwing bay, and the One Shot, One Spill Cafe. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, and on their website at theshootingedge.com.
March Scopes Canada. The Dion optical design line of rifle scopes has a scope for all of your hunting and shooting needs. Find Doug and Niza at marchscopes.ca.
That line doesn't really roll off the tongue very well, does it? The Dion Optical line, the design line of scopes and stuff, things.
Bit of a tongue twister.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Chase and Tyler, welcome to the show. It's good to see you here again. The last time we had you on was, what was it? A year ago this past August, was it? Something like that?
I think it was maybe all of that. I think we had we just shot our first NRL. So
San Diego.
yeah.
Right. I think it was quite a bit before that, because we were talking about having you on again after the season ended, and we never got around to that. So
We went back. But yeah, I think that was the last time. So yeah, some stuff.
Mhm. Excellent. No shooting, not very much shooting through the winter so far. You were talking earlier about typically you go down south to catch the start of the season in warmer weather. Not so much this year.
Yeah, so typically we'll try and do a run. I think last year we shot San Diego, the NRL in San Diego, and then
Right.
we tagged on a PRS there. But this year we couldn't make it. It didn't work. Although last year when we went, I was in California twice, in Arizona once, and in January, February, and we got snowed on in all three of them. So it really
Oh, really?
didn't really achieve it there. The sports
Canadian luck.
later this year. We'll kind of March and April is pretty heavy. We kind of have a match every other weekend there for a while, and then
Oh, wow.
so we'll be going pretty hard there for a while, and then it slows down, or shooting slows down in the summer for us, because we are my business is really busy in July and August, and then we'll start the fall run again in September, October, and so yeah, that's kind of
Right. So, Derek, sorry, I'm gonna switch up. We actually did show notes this time for this show.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go out of order here since
Yeah, no
since
worries.
we're
Go with the
sort
flow.
of down this trail already.
Yeah.
How did you guys end up doing last year by the end of it?
So I think we had some. Chase did really well last year. I think he won.
Yeah.
I don't know. He won a bunch of the youth, top junior,
Right.
and a bunch of the NRLs, and then he was the season. He's the current NRL season top gun. So he won the finals last year.
Nice.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and then we're pretty
Impressive.
heavy in NRL last year. I did okay. I've actually moved over. I'm shooting factory. Managed to win the San Diego Mason Valley Steel Hunter. So I won top factory there, and then kind of bumbled around, and yeah, no, we had a good season. So it's it was a bit of a learning curve, still a bit of a learning curve for us,
Right.
From PRS over. So yeah.
So are you strictly NRL now? You've gotten away from the PRS, or are you still dabbling in PRS a little bit?
So last year we went pretty hard to the NRL. We shot some PRS, but now with the Worlds coming up in Colorado and in September, both Chase and I are on the team, and so we're swinging back the other way. So we're actually shooting more PRS this year than we were NRL. Trying to kind of get as prepared as possible for September. Yeah.
Excellent. Derek, you're trying to get in there, and I think we talked over you.
No, I was good. Yeah, no. So
Okay. All right. Okay, you want to get back on track now?
we can go in some sort of track. Yeah. So tell us about
this.
how did this start about hosting a match? What was the thought process?
Yeah.
And,
So, Josh, both from MDT, he and I put on a match here a couple of years ago during COVID, actually, and Josh shoots some NRL, and we try and shoot together a little bit. So we talked about the potential of possibly doing it. Obviously had some conversations with Travis from the NRL, and he was super keen to get into Canada and try and do a matchup here. So for me, because the facility that we're using, we're shooting it right here at my at the resort, basically. So logistically, the way my packages work, I had to either do it at the front end or the back end. And back end wasn't an option because we're doing because the finals would be over. So we were really kind of limited to 1 or 2 weekends in early May before we opened. And so Travis had to kind of move some stuff around on their schedule too to get us that block of time. But we managed to get it pulled off, and everything kind of came together. So yeah, kind of a few influences there. I, having shot, a bunch of the NRLs now, I just think it's going to be a really good fit for the Canadians. So, we're super excited to do it. Darcy Barrett's going to bring another match up in Southern Alberta as well. And so I think it's, we're excited about it.
Yeah, awesome.
Excellent.
So sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. But
get it out.
Is there kind of a spin you want to put on the match now that you've shot a bunch of NRL Hunter matches and kind of set up one before? Is there a direction you're going to take this match?
So have either of you guys shot an NRL?
I have not shot an NRL, but I've shot a rimfire hunter, like mock hunter
Like a
match,
one.
so similar format.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that the NRL is evolving a little bit in that some things are a little more standardized, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So we have a max distance now, which is 1,000 yards, and then within the format of each station, it is a little more formalized in how targets are set up. So things typically move left to right, near to far. So there's a couple little things like that. Really, the what makes every match a little bit different, obviously, is the terrain. So depending on where you're shooting, that's what's going to make the difference. We don't have steel in the field yet, but that's really when the rubber hits the road. So just developing that course of fire where it's challenging to find targets, but they are findable, if that makes sense.
Yep, I understand that.
Oh my God, is that your computer, Derek?
What do you mean, Mike?
Mine just ding, ding, ding. Sometimes.
I haven't got a ding yet, so.
So we, for example, we shot the Mason Valley match 2 years ago, and they had not really, they didn't do it on purpose, but they had just gray steel targets. They were not painted.
Oh God!
Nice primer gray. Yeah.
In the
dull
gray dark rock desert, there were targets that I mean, after the RO showed them to you, you still were, it's like, really, I can kind of see the T-post, but it just blended in so well, and it wasn't their intention. But we were shooting with new shooters that, like, 7 stages in, hadn't fired a round.
Oh no!
Holy smokes! They timed out.
Oh yeah, no,
really?
no. I was looking for a target, and
that's got to be frustrating, hey?
Yeah, it can be. So, and the NRL's made some strides too. So we use a placard now for the first target. Then things maybe are going to be a little trickier to find. I know a lot of people, maybe new shooters, maybe worry a little bit about finding the target and whether it's blind or not. Put it that way. And we get quite a variety in matches. Some match directors are 100% blind. I mean, you hardly even know what direction you're looking if your terrain is such that you can do that, which is kind of cool. Others, you have a general idea. You can hear steel, and you can even sometimes, lots of them, you can even see them, to be honest. So roughly where the placard is. I found that it just, as a competitor, it doesn't make a lot of difference. There's a few extra seconds of stress maybe they're not being able to find the target, but it really comes down to all the other stuff. So if that process isn't laid out, whether you know where the targets are or not. Everybody's going to have to find the targets, or everybody's going to know where the targets are. So,
right.
It's all the other stuff. Yeah.
So there must be a standardized set of not rules, but I guess range conditions and that target sizes, distances. You said that you're limited now to 1,000. Is that across the board, or just maybe
everything in the NRL is limited to 1,000 yards.
Okay.
For any of the listeners that haven't shot an NRL, the format's surprisingly simple. So it's not going to sound simple, but once you get your head wrapped around it, it's pretty simple.
Right.
Once you arrive at a state, when you're in the waiting area, you're going to be told whether you have 1 target, 2 targets, or 4 targets, and that's going to tell you most everything you need to know about the match. It is also going to tell you, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, or 4. Then they will tell you what the target is. Lots of times they'll even have a picture of it. So whether it's a deer or a ram or a pig, you know what you're looking for. Okay.
Right.
You know that before you start, but that's really the only information that you get. You know, if there is 1 target, there's going to be 4 positions.
Sure.
If there's 2 targets, there's going to be 2 positions. And if there's 4 targets, they're all going to be from the same position.
I gotcha.
That makes sense.
That is pretty simple, actually, if you can keep that in your head.
Yeah, it's kind of the inverse. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the only simple part. That is always the same.
Right.
So you're looking for 2 pigs. There's going to be 2 shooting positions,
Right.
and you have that information. Then obviously the scoring system. First round impact is worth 2 points. Second round impact is worth 1 point. You miss a target twice, moving on.
Right.
So you can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. You don't necessarily have to hit to move.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But you could hit every target. Worst case scenario. Yeah, you could hit every target on a second round impact, so to speak. And
Right.
burn.
Right.
But,
I gotcha.
so that's the way the scoring is done.
Okay.
That's kind of the format of the match. We try and keep that even. So maybe a third single targets, a third double targets, and a third of the 4 targets. It's natural terrain.
Sure.
So we try not to use too many props or anything. Things realistic shooting scenarios, so to speak. And then just kind of try and make it as realistic and semi-challenging as possible.
And just for those that haven't shot, what's the time like for that stage?
Oh, bugger, I was going to ask that one. Good work.
Gotcha.
So for individual shooters, it is 4 minutes. So from the time you essentially leave the waiting area, the RO is going to give you a cue to go. Time starts then. There's usually some travel to where you're going to actually shoot from. Some match directors are a little more vindictive than others. So some of them, they can be 50 yards. They can be 50 yards uphill. So kind of that risk reward scenario for the shooter. Do you sprint up there? Do you keep the heart rate down? So there's some kind of management side on that. So we try and give a little bit of mix of that. And then, so it like I said, that format stays the same. And so you at least know that. Put it that way.
So then your teams that shoot, what time limit do they have?
Sure. Teams have 6 minutes. Obviously, they work as a team. They have 6 minutes to engage. Both shooters have to engage. So they have a little bit more time.
You can't shoot.
Yeah, both shooters can't be on the gun at the same time.
Right. Yeah. Okay. How do you find those times, you guys? Like, is it adequate or for the most part?
Sure. When I started, no, it was not adequate.
Right. I can imagine. So just to be clear, this is still find, range, and engage, right? It's the whole.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So you have to, when you start, your gear all has to be stowed. The only thing that can be in your hand is your rifle. Binoculars have to either be in a pouch or in pack, or they can now be mounted on a tripod, but stowed. So you can't have stuff in your hands. Bag has to be stowed. Only thing in your hand is rifle. So that's the way you start. Anybody that's shooting their first match, my advice is to practice that process of getting on the glass. Right. Just
unloading the gear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, gosh, I still have stages that it's just a total yard sale. It takes me 4 minutes to get all my shit collected, let alone get anything else done. So the top shooters will go through that process, and they will be on glass looking down range in that 30-second mark ish.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Range finding binos are, with AB are a huge advantage.
I bet. Yeah.
You have to look through your glass and then go to a Kestrel or a rangefinder and then a dope card like that. It just adds steps.
Right.
So yeah, the preferred or the quickest method to get your dope, and then managing that dope before you start shooting. Most guys, I mean, we all came from a PRS world, so a 90-second stage, I mean, you could shoot as few as 4 rounds and get full points. So I don't really start stressing about shooting until I get to that 2-minute 90-second mark. 90-second mark, I'm not shooting. Now I'm a little more concerned about the situation. But so if you find the targets and things flow through quickly, 4 minutes is tons of time. If you don't find the targets, or you can't get your bag out of your backpack or something like that, then all of a sudden it really does.
Or you get in a position you can't see the target.
And if you have an evil match director, they're going to give you those. They're going to let you make those mistakes. Absolutely.
He's got that shit-eating grin before he says go.
We'll have to get us to send him emails to see how he's feeling the week when he's setting up the steel.
Yeah.
He's being a little bit spiteful. We gotta watch out.
That's funny. Well, I want to get into the match that's going to happen at your place, the when, where, how, and why, and all that kind of stuff. But before we get into that, we're kind of following along the same thread sort of thing. So the footprint that you intend to lay out, or the area, how big would that be, and how does that compare to the NRL matches that you've seen up until yours?
So I've seen both. We got lots of land. Our problem is we have trees. So that's a little bit limiting for us. And now that we're starting, we're really getting down to laying out a course of fire. So good and bad, but we have trees. So we have 1,200 acres right here, but it doesn't matter because you can't see through most of it. We're having to get a little bit creative on some of the places. There's about 400 acres of farmland that is open and hilled, so that we're going to be able to do it. And we'll be able to put together a cool course of fire that we're going to be able to use those trees to my advantage. Course of fire. But it is different. I don't think I've ever shot any place that is treed like we are.
Oh, really? Yeah.
By default, long range shooting competitions tend to take place in
that's right, the wide open
flat.
Yeah. The closest I would say is probably the Defiance shoot in Montana. That one has some trees, but you're kind of up on this knoll and you're shooting off of it out into places that aren't treed. it's a little different, but lots of the place, like I love shooting down around like the Snake River. Those guys do an awesome job. They've got two or three venues that are just, I mean, unbelievable up on top of these, big rock outcroppings and stuff. Just for a match director, it's just endless possibilities. So it's super cool. But everywhere we go is a little bit different. The desert's different than California and stuff. So it's really cool that a PRS match, you can change the location and it's still a PRS match. Still have barricades. It doesn't change that much. The NRL is really very committed to whatever the local terrain is, I would say, my opinion.
Okay. I imagine you're going to get a lot of elevation change or angles Ian, for your stages, out there.
We can. I'm going to try and use them as much as I can.
Right. Yeah.
I really like that component.
Yeah.
I really like when a match director does that. Yeah.
Nice.
How many beers should a guy not have? Because how much hiking is one expected to do? When should I stop having McDonald's is my question.
The physical part's actually not. You're good. Drink all you want.
Okay.
Once you're on the clock, whether I make you run 20 feet or 70 feet, that I can't promise anything. But the actual walk in the course fire, again, we've been on some. I think the Mason Valley, they told us the full course of fire was 6 miles. But because it's broke up to, you shoot your stage and then you walk, 500 yards. So it's never. It's not like you're.
Yeah, you're not putting on 1.5 miles between.
It's a couple hundred yards at a time, and we're doing it over all days.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, do you want to get into the MDT Rocky Mountain Challenge? How did that come about, and what kind of an ordeal was that to get that organized through NRL to get this going?
Yeah, so like I said, Travis was really good he was super keen to come up. He obviously knows Josh pretty well, and so they could kind of vouch for the venue. And so once we could kind of land on a date, that part was actually relatively simple. So we were good to go. Then obviously, if we're from BC, so if we're going to do something, we're really hopeful that MDT was interested. Ryan McLean been great to deal with, and he, they were keen. They're big supporters of the NRL, and the fact that we were in BC with them, they were stoked to be part of it. So they were able to come on as our title sponsor. And they've been very supportive, and you'll see at the match, obviously, they're very committed to making this a kind of a world-class event. So we're super excited to have them.
No doubt. Yeah. I imagine that's pretty awesome.
And one of the things that I really I appreciate about the NRL and Travis, and they've got really good corporate support, or sponsor support, I guess you call it. I think Sig Sauer, Leopold, Hornady, these are all big title sponsors, and when they come in, the prize tables are pretty impressive. So Travis done a great job with that stuff. And as a match director, I don't have to go out and find all of that.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal because these guys all get hit up for 50 sponsorships every month, I'm sure, and so it's easier when you have an ongoing match. But we're new, so we're starting from nothing. So we got MDT, and we got like 10 title sponsors basically right off the bat. Super cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then we're just kind of starting now to reach out to a bunch of our Canadian companies. And to be honest, the feedback's been great there too. So everybody's excited, and so we think we're going to have good. we're super excited to bring everybody on. I
think they go ahead. Sorry.
My pitch to the sponsors. There's a couple kind of cool things about the NRL. I mean, we're merging that shooting world and into competition is essentially what we're doing. We're doing it in a long range fashion, but so for a new shooter to go to a race gun match, like I'm intimidated by that whole complex sometimes. So, it's so for, somebody that's been shooting some long range is like, I'd like to try this out a little bit. The NRL is the perfect place to do that.
Okay.
So we can talk about like the skills division in a minute, but so that mesh of hunters and shooters. So when you start talking about your sponsorship and the corporate support that the NRL has, guys like Leopold look at this and say, there's 2,000 PRS shooters in North America. There's 66 million hunters. So if we can kind of mesh this together, the number, it's just math for
right.
My pitch to all the Canadians, we're all the Canadian sponsors, we're bringing you an NRL, so everybody's got to build a new gun and everybody's got to try and get under 12 pounds, but it's just that whole, it's just good for the industry as a whole. So we're excited to have a bunch of new sponsors.
It's a pretty big deal, for sure, for a lot of Canadian companies. I'm sure that there's the exposure you get with an NRL event is pretty damn big now. And I wanted to talk about like the prize tables and that too. Do I remember this correctly that NRL does a little bit differently than they typically do with PRS? It's with PRS, it's typically the top X amount of shooters or whatever get to pick the prize table first. NRL does it differently in that it's a complete draw or raffle or something like that, is it?
No, it is still there is a couple, I don't know, there's maybe a couple leagues that still, I know Sapril did that maybe a little bit.
Okay. Yes, I know they did.
The NRL is still somewhat of a point ranking, first top of whatever.
Okay.
And kind of there's a couple parts. The teams are set aside. Teams have a separate prize table. It's adequate depending on what your ratio of teams versus singles are, but they have their own thing. Teams are their own thing.
Okay.
And first, second, third get trophies, walk the table in line. On the individual side, because we have so many divisions, we've got factory, we have light, which is under 12 pounds, and we have heavy, which is under 16 pounds. Each one of those divisions will have a first place trophy, second and third. So there's actually 9 trophies right there. Plus we have junior. And so I think I'm building trophies right now, and I think I have 19 of them. So there's a little bit more there. But once it comes time to walk the table, first place overall match, best score walks first. Then first factory actually walks the table before anybody else. Then first light, and then first heavy, and then second factory.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so they put a lot of emphasis on the factory division. I think it's smart because the sponsors of our factory production rifles, we're shooting lots of Tikas and Remingtons and the guys that are really we've been trying to get to pay attention. So the factory division's, the real deal. And then, light is, I find light to, I shoot light when I'm not shooting factory. But as long as you can get your gun in under 16 pounds, you can come and shoot.
Okay.
And then, sorry, as we were talking about divisions, there's one, you do have the option to shoot skills. So the skills division pays half the match fee. So you're not eligible for the prize table. However, you're allowed to get help from the ROs if you wish.
Right.
Yeah, or another shooter. So it's much more of a learning deal. For a new shooter, I would highly recommend shooting skills. The ROs. So the way the NRL runs it, which again, just structurally, I think the NRL does a great job of this. my ROs get to shoot on Friday. Their scores are live. I don't have 20 friends that want to come help me for the weekend that don't shoot.
Right.
I struggle to find 20 friends that do shoot, but just so it helps because everybody's happy to help you on the weekend if we actually get to shoot.
Right.
All of my ROs are going to shoot on Friday. Their scores are live. Then they're going to help me for the weekend. So by default, my ROs are I mean, these guys are all very skilled competitors. So they are more than happy and capable of helping our skills shooters.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're a new shooter, I mean, you will learn more in 2 days than, any course or anything else you could possibly.
I've heard that before. I think Chris Hoyen and Jeff Scobie were describing that the last time we had them on. Yeah. And I think I know where I got the whole prize table thing maybe mixed up. We had Peter from Western Precision Rifle on a couple episodes I think ago, and I think that's what he was describing with the matches that he runs. That it's basically an open prize table. It's not point driven so much, I think. So
yeah, and I'm not opposed to I kind of like the idea of it. But yeah, that's
each one has its pros and cons, I guess, right?
Yeah. So that's kind of be the format. Couple things that are different for new shooters. They're coming from PRS. We have to weigh in and do power factor for everybody for
right.
So that happens Friday afternoon.
Okay.
So everybody's got to show up in time to obviously weigh their rifle and then go through the registration process. Then we shoot a power factor. For anybody that not familiar with power factor, I think it's 380,000, whatever they measure it in.
Yeah.
The number.
Right.
Essentially, it's velocity times bullet weight. So can't get there with the 6mm bullet. So kind of 6.5s and ups is kind of what we're seeing to get to that minimum power factor. Any ties, which surprisingly there's actually quite a few ties, goes to power factor. So whoever has the highest power factor actually wins any tie.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's where the flex comes into play. Hey,
that's why big guys pushing a little bit bigger bullets. Yeah.
Right. So speaking of bullets, for nobody who's shot this before, what kind of calibers are you seeing on the firing line?
I think the 6.5, any of the 6.5s, but the Creedmoor is still probably king there. I would argue that maybe half. I know Scobie and those guys, they're shooting 25 Creeds now, so you see a few of them. I mean, it's a hunting match, so you still see. I remember at the belt match last year, we had a guy show up with a 300 Norma, and he shot the whole day, wailing away.
I've heard that story a couple of times. Yeah,
he deserves a medal of his own.
I don't think you can appreciate I don't know. You're in a shooting competition. There's guns going off constantly. Right. And everybody heard every one of that guy's shots. It was just
yeah. So would he have played in the heavy class then?
I don't know what he weighed in. I'm sure he was.
I hope so.
Yeah. It was actually like a full top loader conventional hunting rifle.
Okay.
And we get we still get some of those guys that are literally just, it's like one of Travis's slogans is 20 years of practice in 2 days. And then it's literally what it is. It's like I've just my hunting gun and I'm going to shoot this competition. And it's very, very feasible. Yeah.
Jens and I have a buddy. We go out to his farm to practice for King of 2 Miles. Like he has a better layout than what I do at my farm. And we can reach out a little bit further there. And he's a fairly young guy. Like I think he's, I don't know, he'd be early 30s. And but he's just a brick. Like he's probably just barely 6 feet, but he's just a naturally big human.
Yeah.
He's almost as wide as he is tall, and he's got this this Tika T3 light. What is it? A 300 mag, and Jens was helping him do load development, and he he finally found a bullet that he liked. It was like a 215 or something like that, and he says, "Yep, that feels about right now." In a 7.5 or 8 pound gun or whatever the heck those T3 lights are. It's like, all right.
I used to be that guy. Like I really,
Yeah.
Bother me. I don't care. And then
Yeah.
after I shot something that didn't have recoil for a while, to go back.
Oh, I know.
This is
Yeah. Then a guy gets spoiled. Hey.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we see everything. PRCs, some 7 mils. We don't see a lot of 30 cals anymore, but we still see them. So, and ultimately, it doesn't matter. We're not shooting crazy ranges. So literally, whatever you're comfortable with, really, what it is that the rules were designed to whatever you're going to go hunting with. That's what you should be shooting this match with.
Right. Do you know the reason they I know it might sound like I'm harping on this, the reason they cut down to 1,000 yards max for NRL?
I don't really know the reason per se. We shot, I know they made a lot of efforts to really keep things fair. And I've been to some matches where you're with the ROs, you can be over 3 days. At those extended ranges, if you had different conditions, I've been to matches where the ROs were like half of the first 10 places, and I've been to matches where you didn't see RO in the top 50, and it was 100% based on weather conditions. So I think that part of it, and I think everybody wanted to keep the intimidation factor down a little bit. And realistically, anybody that was putting targets, any of the match directors that were throwing targets out there past 1,000 yards, they were so big. And so they kind of went away from it. And again, the more of them I shoot, it doesn't matter. It's going to have way more success is going to have way more to do with, do you know how to run your binos, and are you comfortable shooting on iPod than it is. Do you have good dope at 1,200 yards?
And I suppose, like keeping with the spirit of NRL, who the hell's going to take a hunting shot beyond 1,000 yards? Anyways, I'm sure there are some guys, but it's just it's even 1,000 yards. I think is well beyond what any reasonable hunter I think would. Or reasonable or reasonably equipped, maybe hunter would think about doing so.
I think that's probably a great point. They really do. I've really noticed in the last year, kind of the ethical portion of it coming in. I've always kind of been, if you think you're proficient at 1,000, maybe hunting scenario, cut that in half. Yeah. Yeah. So if I can ring steel at 1,000, I would consider a 500-yard shot. I think that's probably a big part of it. They don't really want to be, investing.
That's a bit of a slippery slope, I suppose. They could be seen as promoting that sort of thing, given what they sort of represent, right? And then who needs that sort of backlash, even if it's not valid? But and there's the thing, I suppose, with giving guys, some guys, sort of a false sense of confidence. Well, I shot this NRL Hunter match and I made some hits out at 1,200, so pretty sure I can do that on an elk or a deer or whatever, right? So
I think it might go the other way. Actually,
to be responsible for that.
I think that's people that might get a pretty good wake up.
Again, for reasonable people.
Yes.
I think you see a lot of guys like, oh yeah, I hit full size elk at 1,000 yards, and then they struggle. It's a humbling experience.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if you guys remember, but I sure as hell remember when I was starting out, reaching out longer and longer, how truly humbling it was. I thought I knew some stuff until I got out there and got some sort of adverse conditions mixed in too. It's reality's kind of a bitch sometimes for, well, I dare say most people.
Yeah, and I think it really struck home for me when because we can shoot, past 1,000 here at home. So literally on a Tuesday, you'd be hammer and steel at 1,000 yards. You'd come back the next day. Yeah. Nothing's changed about the gun, and you can't get back on steel. So, I mean, that's just a 24-hour difference. There's nothing other than that I can really. So, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
If anybody tells you they can hit a 12-inch gong at 1,000 yards under any conditions, it's just
go get them, brother. Yeah. What are you expecting for attendance at your match?
We just opened registration a week ago. I'm actually surprised it's coming on pretty good. We are capping it. We're going to cap it at 80 shooters because two things. I mean, my facility and the way I want to run it. So I want to run 12 stages live on Saturday. This is my plan right now. That's kind of a lot of the match directors have gone that direction. That allows us to run 6 stages. And the way my property is laid out, to have the whole thing live at once is going to limit me a little bit. So I run it on 12 and 6 on the next day. We should be done shooting early afternoon. And it gives us a little more time, do a wrap-up banquet, do prizes, and then everybody's on the road. I mean, everybody's going to go to work on Monday. So I really appreciate 100%. It when has their stuff together and we're driving by 3:00 in the afternoon and I'm home, and it makes life way easier. So that's really what I'm trying for. So back to your question, we're gonna max it at 80, and I'm pretty confident we're gonna get there. I am surprised because all the NRL shooters I know are American, and we are like 95% Canadian right now.
Awesome.
Oh, is that right?
Awesome.
That's
so
deadly.
Super about that. I'm sure some of these guys, I know a bunch of these guys that are going to come up, but yeah, our registration right now is heavy to Canadian. So we're super excited about that.
Perfect.
Speaking a little bit logistically,
how long does...
go ahead. Take over here. Just a little bit logistically driving. Obviously, your closest city to you guys is Cranbrook.
Yeah.
How far are you guys from Cranbrook roughly?
15 minutes.
Okay. So very, very easy, commutable.
Yeah, so we're right here close. For those guys, Alberta guys, Saskatchewan guys, we're about 3 hours, a little over 3 hours from Lethbridge. So we're not that far into BC. We're only an hour from Fernie. So it's actually pretty accessible. Calgary, we can be to Calgary in just over 4 hours. So we're not really not too bad.
Yeah. How long is registration open for? Just until you get 80 shooters, or, well, I guess that's kind of an obvious one. Shut up, Rouse. If you struggle to get 80 shooters, how long is the registration open for? Right up to match day kind of thing, or?
I will probably close it down a couple weeks out, to be honest. We've got match swag and all that stuff that we have to finalize numbers, lunches, all that stuff that we kind of got to dial in. So I would be reluctant. I mean, I'm sure I'll have the odd last minute cancellation and stuff, but no, I plan on closing registration a couple weeks out. I believe it's going to sell out. I would say a large percentage of the NRLs do now. So if a guy knows, if you know you're coming, I would encourage you to just go ahead and register.
Right. Now, where do shooters register? Is it on the NRL website, or is it practice score? What's the mode there?
Right on the NRL website. So Travis and the NRL manage all of that stuff. For anyone that is interested, you do not need to have a membership to shoot an NRL match. If you buy an NRL membership, it gets you. You're then entered to collect points for the final, so to speak.
I gotcha.
And very similar. The point structure is very similar to like the PRS. But if you come to the Canadian match or matches, either one, and you shoot pretty well, or you shoot well, you should get an invite to the NRL finals, which is always a great event too.
Cool.
So for your first match, it's not mandatory that you have a membership.
Right. Where is the finale this year?
I think it's back east somewhere, and it's a little earlier than normal. I honestly don't. I'm sure it's right on the website there, but maybe Iowa. Yeah, I don't remember. I haven't shot back there, so I don't know. Yeah. Last year we were in Laramie, so it's been west the last couple times, but we are. So yeah, they're going east coast this time. Well, eastern, I should say. East of where I live.
So I just put the website in on the chat here. It's nrlhunter.org/matches-2024/24-14/ forward slashes. In case anybody wants to go that's listening and register. That's pretty cool. Approximate round count for these. I should know. I should know all these things you've already been reciting. We've talked to several people on this show talking about NRL Hunter. I guess I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. So if I think most matches, the way the math, they'll tell you 144.
Okay.
You would have to A, find every target, and B, miss every first round.
Right.
Possible, but difficult.
Right. Challenge accepted.
It's very rare that and you need a couple extra rounds for your 0 day, and then you need to fire 3 rounds for your power factor. Right. Having said that, it's pretty rare to shoot over 100 rounds.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Just the way the
lots
scoring.
left over then.
Yeah.
I had in the notes.
Nope, I was going to go ahead.
I just had in the notes here match area footprint. I just had in brackets are Sherpas supplied by the match director.
No Sherpas.
No Sherpas. Come on.
Water. We'll deliver water.
I thought this was a resort.
Yeah. Yeah. We do. So the NRL, obviously, we pack everything in and everything out. We actually deliver. So we will have lunches catered for Saturday. My match is a little different in that we do have accommodations here. So there are some limited. We can't have everybody, but we can sleep about 40 people.
Okay.
We did it in back when we did the PRS match during COVID. It's kind of cool that everybody gets to shoot the match and then hang out, and it's a fun dynamic. And then obviously we'll do our banquet dinner and stuff at the main lodge. So it's nice that everything's real close together. And for me as a match director, it's nice because aside from the shooting, this is what we do.
Right.
Accommodations and the meals and the managing people part. That's all kind of what we do. So we're just adding some shooting on top of it. So it should be fun.
I got a question for Chase.
Yeah.
He hasn't piped in here. For somebody first time coming to an event like this, what are some good tips to kind of keep a shooter in the right direction?
Move on to the next stage. If you have a bad stage, you just kind of got to move on. I kind of struggled with that last year, getting better at it. But yeah, if you have a bad stage, move on and practice a whole bunch. Also something I'm working on.
What about on the stage? If you're going to, if you're a new shooter and you were shooting the stage, what do they need to think about?
Just time management. You're at that 2-minute stage and you found a target. Maybe spend another 15 seconds and then move on to your shooting. But if you find 1 or 2 targets and it's a forced target array, you actually have you can skip targets. So if
Okay,
you're
interesting.
Oh,
and you have 2 targets found out of the 4, you can shoot your 2 targets or shoot your first target.
Mhm.
Haven't found the second one, skip your second one and shoot the third one.
You just have to indicate to the RO
Yeah.
what you're engaging in, and that's good to go.
Yeah.
I was going to ask the
Okay,
same
that's
thing, but I imagine it'd be
interesting.
fairly obvious, though.
Mhm.
I can't see targets being too terribly close together, but
Mhm.
but I guess you still have to have an RO on that target you intend to shoot, though. I guess, don't you?
You do, and if you shoot so you have to find you're allowed to ask ROs yes and no questions.
Right.
So you can ask the RO. Now your first target's going to be beside the placard, so you basically know that's your first target.
Gotcha,
But
yeah.
if you're looking for 4 deer and you find a deer, you might a second deer, a third deer, you may very well want to ask the RO or confirm with the RO. Is the third deer beside a bush or whatever it might be, or to the left of the bush or whatever it is? He can give you the yes or no answers. But like Chase said, if you find 3, you're missing the 4th, you maybe want to have some communication with the RO, decipher what you're missing.
Yeah.
And when you get to that one, you can just say skip and go on to the next one.
Okay.
And it does actually come into play, especially for a new shooter and time management. You find 2 of your 4 targets, and you got 90 seconds left. You better get on the gun.
Okay, so in the case of let's use a 4 target array out there. You see your first, you see your second, you can't find the third, you skip to the 4th, and by whatever miracle, you finally find the third. Can you go back?
Can't go back.
I wondered about that.
Okay, so you got to commit to at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's happened to me where I think I've found the targets, or I shoot my first target, I shoot my second target, I know it's impacted, and the RO doesn't say anything.
Oh.
I know that I now shot the third or the 4th target, wrong target, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a few things that are going to make you think a little bit.
I imagine just about everybody's gone through that scenario.
Yeah.
I see those nods.
Yeah.
And
Chase, what are you shooting now?
So for my NRL, I'm still shooting the 6.5.
Okay.
I've kind of moved away from the factory. I've got a 6.5 IBI Creedmoor barrel with a
anti-X
defiance action and
Right.
a ACC chassis with a double pull.
Oh. So were you running what's that carbon MDT chassis?
HNT?
That real light. Yes.
Yeah.
Weren't you running that last year or the year before?
I ran it for a while, yeah. Ran it almost everything was carbon fiber there. And then we went and shot down with Jake Verbert.
Yep.
And shot a little bit down there, and he said, "You're underweight. It's better for me to go heavier."
Right.
Just shooting, being able to pick up that target a little faster, having a little bit less jump to it.
That's a pretty big deal for sure.
No weight classes in the young guns, so
you just have
may as well have to be under 16 pounds. So we just had to go back to the ACC and get a little more weight. So we wasn't shooting that 11-pound gun.
Yeah, that would make a heck of a difference, I'm sure.
Especially for somebody that weighs 100 pounds, right?
Yeah, right. You could eat more, boy.
Come with me to McDonald's.
Yeah.
And then both Chase and I have this year are moving over to Apex. So we'll both Apex this season.
Awesome.
So we're excited to be. Haven't I see it there. We haven't got to a match with him yet, but we've been playing with him here at home. We've had him for a couple months, so we're excited.
Okay.
So
The
Chase,
bigger question: the rival or the rival X or the Hunter?
we held out for the X.
Oh, the 10 mil.
Yeah.
That tricky math.
Yeah. So we're running them on our NRL guns and our PRS guns. I'm
Okay.
for the Worlds. I'm running production. So
Okay.
the team I made. So
Mhm.
yeah, got guns built and I'm going to run PRS production in the other matches as well to kind of try and get ready for this fall. So, but no, we're excited about the Apex, and so far we love them, and and they're great. So they're great to deal with, and so we're excited. Yeah.
Nice. What were you shooting before, you guys?
We were with Minox for most of our. We had a couple Leopold, a couple Mark V's for the NRLs, but
Right.
we shot Minox for a long time. The LRs, still I have them, very much like them. I think they're a hugely underrated scope.
Yeah.
Just the Apex real active in the community and the
You
Canadians.
bet. Yeah. Nice to support them for sure. Yeah.
Well, and yeah, they've been great to Chase and I, so we're excited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I wanted to kind of back up a little bit. We're talking about factory division in NRL, and has that changed a little bit? I can't remember the name of the company. They make those. They make chassis, great chassis. Phil, I remember the guy's name that owns the company or runs the company, Phil Cashin. What chassis manufacturer is that?
I don't know.
Oh, come on, brain. But anyway, they put out essentially a factory rifle, and it's allowed. What rifle are you running, Tyler?
I'm running a Christensen.
Is that right?
Yeah. For the NRL, sorry.
MPA. Good God, Nick. Thank you.
Oh, MPA. Yeah, I'm running an MPA for my PRS gun.
Okay, that's what I thought I saw. Yeah.
I think all the Canadians and all the Americans will be running that specific gun at the Worlds.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
For the
what's the big deal with it now? It's I mean, other than the chassis is great. Who makes that action and all that kind of stuff? Why is everybody going to that thing?
They are. Phil did a really good job. So I mean, it's not you probably talk to somebody that knows better than me, but from my understanding, to make the production list for the Worlds and even the PRS rules, you had to have quite I forget 250 manufacturers, something along those lines. Phil was able. But there was lots of them. If you had an aftermarket trigger or it said trigger tech on the trigger, it was a no-go. There's a bunch of kind of funny things. The name of the manufacturer has to be on the action. So these Matrix Pros have a American Rifle Company action in them, but it says Masterpiece Arms on them.
Right.
I don't know what the international guys are going to do. But this gun was purpose built to meet the rules for those two categories.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to have criteria for everything, and there's always ways around that criteria, right?
Yeah. The cool thing is the Apex fits.
Nice.
So that was awesome for us. There wasn't any concern. So yeah, I don't know. I've run factory in the NRL for a year. I like the division. They did change some of the rules there. I think maybe even a year ago now. But you don't have to make power factor anymore. In that you can. There are some, and I'd have to read it again. But you don't have to make power factor if it's a factory rifle and it's a regularly chambered cartridge.
Okay.
You can run a 6 Creed, to my knowledge, in a factory rifle. Yeah, so there's some, but the production numbers are way higher. I think the manufacturer has to produce 5,000, and they have to make, I forget how
Oh
many.
Christ! We got a fire alarm here.
That's what I figured.
Sorry
I don't-
guys, but I gotta go. It's up to you whether or not you keep going, but I gotta sign off.
All right, good luck.
All right, thanks guys. Next time we'll make it longer.
Sounds good.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, you might want to hit the button there. There you go.
There you go. Muted him.
Yeah. Well, I want to kind of come back to the beginner shooter. Obviously, you need to somebody participating in one of these matches. Obviously, need to do your general shooting practice. But what's some other things to work on for those that are attending a match that haven't?
So I tell new shooters a couple things. Understand your gear. Understand what it's going to do when you need it. So I'm personally not a fan of things that link. So I don't want to link my Kestrel to my binoculars because if I lose that link and I have to repair it on the clock, that's horrible for me. So I try and keep things very, very simple. The least amount of gear I can use, probably the better. It sounds stupid, practicing unpacking your backpack. It's time on the clock. It's really, really important. And if you're not already doing it, learn how to shoot off of a tripod.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether it's a tack cable or a bag, or you want to lock in, it doesn't matter. You see both. But match directors, there are going to be stages that you have to shoot off. You have to shoot off of a tripod. So
okay,
for a new shooter, those would be the key things that I would focus.
That tripod proficiency.
Yeah.
Now, individual shooting versus team shooting.
Yep.
What are kind of some dynamics with that team shooting that team shooters should work on?
I don't shoot a lot of teams, but Chris and Scobie would be great examples. They've killed it the last couple of years. So I think your good team shooters, they develop a really good dialogue. Their workflow is good in that your shooter is getting ready to shoot essentially, and your spotter is doing their job, so everybody knows their place. The match directors will mess with the teams just a little bit, cramming them in small areas, if that makes sense.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Just get set up, and you're always going to want to try and be behind your shooter. So there's some challenges there with shooters. For teams, practice that process. From what I can see, and you in a match where targets may be a little bit more difficult to find or setups a little bit more difficult, it's really easy to burn all your time on your first shooter, and the poor second guys, getting on the gun,
playing catch up,
15 seconds going. So just that it's that same workflow and having that team dynamic conversation. Again, I don't shoot a lot of teams. I've never shot teams, but I think it's pretty effective. I mean, we see lots of the Army marksmanship guys and lots of the Special Forces guys now are coming and shooting teams. And my understanding is that they really like that team dynamic and that language that they're kind of building a little bit. So. And the guys that shoot teams, they love it. They have a riot. I know lots of people that would prefer to shoot teams than they would shoot individuals. So it's kind of a personal. So if you got a buddy, you do get a little more time. But there is two of you that have to shoot. So, but
and it is a good training sequence in a way for actual hunting. If that is your hunting partner, nothing better.
There is no substitute for it. Yeah. And competition applies pressure. Hunting scenarios often have pressure. So you can go train with your partner. I mean, even individual, but until you apply pressure, which you know,
and the unknown.
Until you're doing that stuff, and time is a great magnifier. Until you're doing that stuff repetitively, it's just you will identify. I remember watching the Army marksmanship guys coming off of a stage, and one of the senior partner was like just berating his partner. You know, the language is like, you
grilling
know,
them.
Say this, and you know, it was very, very specific. So yeah, I think it's huge. If you got a hunting partner, then like this is what you do. Yeah, you're both going to develop a ton on it.
Well, and you can't really like yell at each other because they can all hear you from the back.
Yeah, because everybody's got Ear Pro, like you know, Electric Ear Pro, so they tell you hunting voices. You know, don't be screaming your dope out and stuff like that. Not a huge deal, but it's a factor. Yeah.
So the other shooters waiting to shoot the stage, they're staged, you know, 40 yards back or so is kind of the separation or geography, depending.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit further in that you'll walk a certain distance to your start point, and then your start point you can jog or walk or whatever you want, but you're usually a little ways. But yeah, if you're screaming out dope and stuff, then somebody's going to hear it. Man.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you guys wanted to touch on that feel got a good communication of the upcoming match?
I think so. I mean, I'm easy to get a hold of. My email's right there on the registration page. So if anybody has questions about any of it, I'm happy to walk them through. Some of the classifications and weight categories, and sometimes even power factor. If anybody has questions about that stuff or gear or anything, you know, by all means, let me know. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty straightforward. We do have limited accommodations, so kind of first come, first serve. We've got some hotel deals and stuff, and so if you've never been out here to Cranbrook, Kimberley, you know, lots of good restaurants and stuff too. So it's a cool destination, and yeah, if anybody's got questions, just don't be shy. Reach out, and we expect a lot of new shooters. The NRL, I think last year, Travis would tell you a third of their attendance were people that had never been to a shooting match before in their lives. Wow. So it's very friendly to new shooters. So it's a great opportunity if anybody's looking to come and see what it's all about.
Excellent. Where else can people find you, like your social medias, etc.?
Yeah, Chase Beckley, PRS kid. Mine's just my name, Tyler Beckley. The match itself has a Facebook page, so that's NRL Hunter, NRL MDT Canadian Mountain Hunter, I think.
Something of that variety. Okay, good to know. We'll definitely look that up here and join that. So
yeah, and you can find all of them on the NRL match page, and all the information is there as well.
All right, I think that about wraps it up. I'm just going to go through I'm kind of new at this still. I'm going to go through a quick blurb of our end sponsors. The closing comments. Again, I'm kind of thrown into this because Rooster's probably standing outside in the cold at a muster point, waiting for everybody to get tallied up. So closing comments, a massive thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you, wouldn't have the show in the first place. Shane and Steve, EM Precision Rifles, Miles, Carrie and Cappy with Call Sign 66, Duncan and Rob at Bolt Action Coffee, Phil Odell at Odell Engineering, Doug and Niza with March Scopes Canada, Vanya and Carly with Apex Optics, Oscar at Ribstone Gubsmithing, and JR Cox with The Shooting Edge. Thank you all very much. And yeah, y'all have yourselves a good night, and we'll see you next time on Ballistically Speaking Podcast. All right. Now to end this thing, I'm not sure because Kurt is the real host. So I think we just hit leave studio at the same time, and it should go dark. The curtain should fall. And
Sounds good.
3, 2, 1.